Well, hi, everybody. I'm Don Stewart, and welcome to our second edition of Breaking News for this Saturday, May 4th, 2024. About 7 hours ago, we did a story about Hamas supposedly accepting a ceasefire offer, meaning the war in Gaza would stop for a while, possibly as long as 6 weeks, with 33 hostages exchanged. And also, the story said something very odd, and that is there was an agreement between Hamas, guaranteed by America, that in this new ceasefire agreement, there would be an actual end soon to the war and Israel would leave Gaza completely. And we said that sounded a little fishy, but this is a story that came across the wire from Reuters that Hamas had agreed to a ceasefire offer. Well, all right, we're going to follow up on that now. It was 5 something in the morning when we did this story, and here in California, it's now about a quarter after 1 in the afternoon. It's 11 o'clock after that in Israel. And here's what we find out. Okay, the first statement came soon after our broadcast was finished. IDF will enter Rafah whether pause is achieved or not, an Israeli official said. Official releases a statement saying military will continue to eliminate remaining Hamas battalions amid reports of Hamas's positive response to a proposed Egyptian hostage deal. An Israeli official said Saturday, amidst reports in Arab media that Hamas had agreed to the hostage deal outline proposed by Egypt, that the IDF will enter Rafah whether there be a pause in the fighting or not. This comes after additional reports, according to whom the U.S. gave guarantees to end the war and the IDF withdrawals from Gaza. We mentioned that. Israel will in no way agree to the end of the war as part of a deal to release our hostages, the official added in the statement. As decided by the government, the IDF will enter Rafah and eliminate the remaining Hamas battalions there, whether or not there will be a temporary pause for the release of our hostages. Now, Benny Gantz was not happy with that. He said the outline for the hostage deal has yet to be received, and he urged against political hysteria. He basically criticized the official statement. He says an official response to the proposed deal hasn't been received yet. When it's received, that is the proposed deal, the war cabinet will convene and deliberate on it. Until then, I suggest the officials, quote unquote, and all decision makers to wait for the official updates, to keep a cool head and not succumb to hysteria for the sake of political considerations. Okay, now we have the Saudi claim. This is what we talked about earlier. According to information from the Saudi newspaper El Sharq, the United States has given Hamas assurances through intermediaries that would lead to a ceasefire and an IDF pullout from Gaza, contingent on the successful completion of the expected 3 stages of the hostage deal and ceasefire agreements. The report further states that Hamas is expected to react favorably to these American assurances. Future efforts will be aimed at forming a national consensus for the governance and reconstruction of the Gaza Strip. Now, of course, this is at odds with what Israel is saying. And then we have another story that came out a little later. It said the Israeli delegation will not head to Cairo until Hamas's response to the deal. Numerous sources have spoken about the ongoing hostage deal between Israel and Hamas following a string of failed negotiations and interventions by Egypt and Qatar. An Israeli official said that an Israeli delegation will not leave for Cairo until a response from Hamas is received on a possible hostage deal. This was reported later on Saturday. Additionally, senior Israeli sources reported to have said, if we send a delegation led by the head of the Mossad to Cairo, it will be an indication of a positive development regarding the framework of the ongoing hostage negotiations. Now, they have been engaged, obviously, in several negotiations mediated by several foreign actors, namely Egypt and Qatar. None have proven successful. Now, we have then this story coming from Cairo, which tells us basically we're at a non-starter. As Cairo talks begin, one of the aides from Haniya, he's one of the leaders of Hamas, demands full and complete IDF pullout from Gaza. Tahir Nunu, a Hamas official and advisor to Hamas chief Ismail Haniya, said meetings in Cairo with Egyptian and Qatar mediators have begun, and Hamas is dealing with their proposals with full seriousness and responsibility. But here comes the however. However, he reiterates the terror group's demand that any deal should include an Israeli pullout from Gaza at the end to the war, conditions that Israel has previously rejected. Any agreement to be reached must include our national demands, the complete and permanent ending of the aggression, the full and complete withdrawal of the occupation from Gaza Strip, the return of the displaced to their homes without restriction, and a real prisoner swap deal, in addition to the reconstruction and ending the blockade, the Hamas official told Reuters. So, and then we had a story later from Israel tonight, about an hour or so ago, Israeli officials said the publications alleging Israel has agreed to end the war as part of the hostage deal or will allow guarantees to ending the war to be given to the mediator are false. In other words, there's no guarantee at all. There's no conclusion. In other words, Hamas made today. They called it a day there in Egypt. In fact, the story goes, ended about an hour ago or so. They signaled few developments on Saturday's talk, saying negotiations are going to resume tomorrow. They told the French news agency that negotiations in Cairo were not developments and had ended for the day. Israeli media reported there would be continued talks on Sunday. Another senior Hamas official told Al Jazeera News Network that Israel is obstructing reaching agreement by insisting on continuing the war. The Zionist entity is looking for a framework agreement for the return of their captives without linking it to the end of the war. There will be no agreement that does not explicitly include ending the war. All right, close quote. Now, if Hamas does not budge from this, there will be no deal. The Rafah operation will then soon commence. If and when this takes place, the uproar will be so much greater than what we've seen so far. Israel, as the Bible predicts, will be further isolated. In fact, we are seeing this today. If this so-called story that came across the wire didn't occur, that Hamas had agreed to a ceasefire, we had a bunch of stories today we're going to give you about the college campuses continuing to expand the rebellion against Jewish students. For example, at George Washington University, the U.S. flag had been removed from the main flagpole at George Washington University. The Palestinian Hamas flag now flies in its place. We have a story that arrests now hit 2,000 as anti-Israel protests continue to roil U.S. campuses. Anti-Israel protests have rocked college campuses across the U.S. in the past weeks, and now the number arresting is rising as authorities are trying to end with no end in sight. AP police have reported that 2,200 people have already been arrested, with no signs of protests or arrests ending anytime soon, despite police resorting to using riot gear, tactical vehicles, and flashbang devices to clear tent encampments and occupied buildings. And today we find that Portland State University, the pro-Hamas supporters, anti-Semitic students trashed the library there. Dublin, University of Dublin there in Ireland, same thing going on. They've basically taken over the campus. In Vermont, same thing going there, University of Vermont, Santa Cruz, et cetera, et cetera. And it's going to get, sadly, much worse. In fact, Friday night, on Fox News Channel program Hannity, the House Republican Conference chairwoman, Representative Elise Stefanik, Republican from New York, told fill-in host Kayleigh McEnany that House Republicans have expanded a probe into the threats against Jewish students at U.S. college campuses and universities. She called the threat to Jewish students, especially foreign students in the United States on a student visa, a real threat across higher education. And it is real indeed. So this is where we're at right now. It doesn't seem like Hamas is going to budge. They're trying to buy time and make all these claims that are just false. Like we said this morning, it doesn't seem true that Israel would agree to this. Now, we don't know what the United States is going to do, what kind of pressure they're going to try to put on Israel, because they've been extremely negative in the last few days about any type of incursion into Rafah by the Israeli Defense Force. But Israel said, we're going to do what we have to do. We have these 4 battalions still there of the Hamas terrorists that we need to rid of, or else we'd see October 7th all over again. So bottom line is this: it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. It's going to be really, really bad, actually. Israel will be further isolated, just as the Bible says, in the last days, and there'll be persecution of Jews, as there always has been, but it's going to be an uptick as it's continuing to be. Plus Christians too, because Christians are identified, Bible-believing Christians that is, as associating with Jews and believing they have a right to exist. And so this is what we're going to see. We'll be giving you the latest stories here on Breaking News. That's what we do here. But today we thought we'd come back, as we said earlier, and give you the latest update. And like we thought, nothing happened. There was no agreement that Hamas said. They hadn't agreed to any Egyptian, thing that they'd written out that where it was going to end the hostage crisis. They're going to, exchange the hostages for a temporary ceasefire, temporary peace. No, they want a permanent one in place, and they want something like that in the agreement, or they're saying, no, we're not going to do it. So we'll see. Tomorrow's another day. We'll be with you tomorrow first thing and let you know what's going on. Until then, I'm Don Stewart. Keep praying. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, till then, may the Lord richly, richly bless.